team by team, each task force, what happened there in the cycle. So basically, we had like two task forces during this cycle, major. We always have three, but in terms of big tasks that was planned for the cycle, we had two. One of them was to get to a starting point of a releasable app on Samsung and Apple TV using QuickBrick. This was the task of Task Force 1, and to start pushing Android TV to use the QuickBrick infrastructure. This was kind of the task of the objective of Task Force 1, and the team will present. The Task Force 2 and 3, their objective was to start implementing offline mode support in the mobile apps and the CMS. Put a disclaimer, we haven't finished this task, so I will mention what we currently have and what we are planning to roll out and what is still work in progress while we get there. But what we will show is for the Task Force 2 is not been rolled out yet, and it will take us more cycle to release. But it's important to say that this is work in progress and we are working on it. I will start actually with Yuli because she needs to go on the plane. So let's start with that, and then we did a little bit of change of the agenda, but let's start with that. So let me stop my screen sharing.
Okay, thank you, and sorry.
If I will just figure out how I'm stopping the screen sharing here. Okay.
Okay. So, yes. Okay, so I will show the part of the CMS, how you can configure a home offline screen, a little bit explanation regarding new option in Zappifest of supports offline mode. We added into documentation, and also in the new version of Zappifest, supports offline. It's valid only for the screen plugins. So if you have a screen plugin that wants to support offline, it's a Boolean attribute, and it will be assigned to a plugin, this attribute. So for
Maybe
this
I can
demo,
say one thing, one thing just to put the people in context about what we're gonna release and what is not yet ready. So we divided the task into two pieces. One is the offline experience in general. What happens when the app is offline? This is something that, yes, we're gonna roll out after we finish the QA in the next SDK release. And another part that we will not roll out is the entire flow of inside the app of the downloading and playing video in offline. But we change a lot the offline experience in our apps from what it was before to what it was now. Sorry.
Okay, so for this demo, I just took some random screen plugin, let's say setting Twitcher login, and I just make him supports offline. So I will add the screen for my layout just for the demo, and in my home screen, I will add a component, grid component, and this grid component will be assigned for downloads data source. I will save it. With this feature flag supports offline, we decided to move also the configuration of the home screen to the layout settings modal. So here you can configure your home screen and also offline home. The screens that you will see here is either a supports offline screen plugin or a general content plugin that all the components that exist in this screen are assigned to downloads data source. Yeah, that's it, actually.
Cool, thanks. I think that we can continue then with Alex and Gil. Maybe Alex and Gil, it will be a direct continuation.
Yeah, well, okay, stop share.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I will share my screen. 1 second. Tell me if you can see it.
Yeah.
Can you? Okay. So this is a short demo for both platforms for the offline experience. So if you remember what we had before is that if you open the app on offline mode, you would just see a message that tells you the app doesn't support offline, something like that, and you need to connect to the internet. So what we have now is more complicated. So now I'm playing the video. In this time, the app is online. Okay, so here we go to a specific screen, and we add some items to the offline. Sorry, to the favorites. Okay. Before that, I must say. So in this app, like Yuli did, we defined the favorite screen to be the home offline screen, okay? And we also defined another screen in the app to be supporting offline. Okay, later you will see what it does. So first we just set up things. So we just add things to the favorite, to our favorites. Now we go to offline in our devices. And we go to another screen that doesn't support offline. So what you can see is that we have this message that tells you that your device is offline now, and you can either try again or go to the download screen. So this is the screen that, as Yuli said, is the home offline screen. Okay, so in this case...
But you can also have different screen as an offline screen, as an offline home. Right?
What do you mean?
Not in UI Builder. It's only can be one offline home offline screen.
Okay, I'll continue. So now we are clicking on the offline home. So you can see that we go to the offline. And now we kill the app. So just a short explanation. So we turned off the connectivity, and we still have, like the user can still interact with our app. Now we open the app in offline mode. So it goes directly to the home offline, which is the favorites in our case. Okay, you can see that from here, when we continue navigating, we still see that the device is offline. You need to connect to the internet or go to the download screen, the offline screen. This screen specifically we defined as supports offline, so you don't see the message. It's empty because this is what we currently have, but it might as well be full with content. What we care about is this specific screen supports offline, so we show it. Now we connect to the internet again and navigate to another screen, and we have the content, and the app lives as it would have if we started using it online. Now again, we switch to offline, go to another screen. Now we click the try again button. That reloads the screen. Now we have connection, so it works. So it's dynamic, and few comments. It also supports screen plugins. So as Yuli did and said, each screen plugin can be defined as supports offline or not. And we also addressed screen hooks. So each hook can be defined as supports offline or not. So if we open a screen that has a hook that supports offline, it will execute the hook in offline mode. We have a specific behavior for offline mode. And if not, It will just show the offline message that you need to connect to the internet, etc. Yeah, and that's it. Now, if you have any questions, and if not, Alex will continue showing the downloads that he did on iOS, iOS only currently.
How does it work?
Sorry?
How does it work?
How does it work? What do you mean specifically?
So what makes it? What do you save to the persistent storage to make it work? What are the bits you save and the bits you ignore?
Yes, good question. So we all the loads that we do when we launch the app are being stored on the device, which is the plugin configurations, the screens definitions, what we call river. What else?
Navigation, the navigation.
The navigation is part of the screens, so yeah, navigation as well. And yeah, that's it. That's the only two major things. Three. So
I guess you save the thumbnails, you save the payload that's returned by the DSP.
no,
the
DSP doesn't work when you are on offline mode.
I think
as content.
I want to explain a bit because Ram started with it, but I want to make sure that it's understandable. We divided the task for two parts. The first part that we are dealing in the SDK level is dealing with offline without the option for downloads or no download. And basically, an app some apps don't support to download content, but we as the SDK want to support the option to open the app in offline. What it means to open an app in offline, basically that's currently what's the current state of things. If you now open an app in Zapp in offline, you are stuck in loading. That's the current state of things. Now, after the change, what has happened is that you as a CMS user can define what of the screens on your app is the home offline, and this is what will open once the app is in offline mode. Okay, so you open the home offline, and it can be a screen plugin or a general content plugin. Basically, you can define your home offline if you want. Then a user can navigate between the screens of the app like he normally does, and screens that supports offline mode will present according to the way they support it, and screens that don't support offline mode will present the SDK will take over and show the message that this screen is not supported and you're on offline and you can refresh the page. This is one part of the task. The other is that we created for our data source, basically, the option to download items to the device. And you can use this as like Yuli showed in the first section. You can choose to show in the UI builder as a data source downloadable items, and you will show them once you are in offline. So basically, you can create an offline screen with the downloads as a data source, and have a download experience from one hand. From the other hand, we don't really change the way we deal with downloads specifically from basically the perspective of the client. It's just another data source. Instead of coming remotely, it comes from what you have in the device. I hope I explained it okay. Another, just a small note, like Ran said also, it's still in rollout mode. I will speak with all the products in all the regions and explain them what is actually the product, so you have more insights on that. But it's too long for this demo.
Okay, that clarifies it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, one thing about what is ready and what is not, just to make sure that we are clear. The part that makes the app supports offline will be rolled out soon, and the part that is dealing with downloads, which maybe Alex will show a little bit now, is still work in progress. So Alex, if you want, like in a few minutes to present what you've been working on and what you did, and then we will move forward. But if you can make it like really 5 minutes, so we can move to the next task force.
It can be even less.
Go for it.
So just, I need to find how to present my screen. Just a second.
The green button on the bottom.
I don't have this. No. I don't have this option.
I think if you go to the options on top window, and then it always shows the controls on top, you might start to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this. But,
If you go to the top bar, under the tab of under meeting, you have share, start share, or command shift command S.
Shift Command S. Just a second. No, Shift Command S.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 If you can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I have the data, some data source on the device. Just a second. Okay. On the cells type family, I needed to add the download button that will appear only if the item is marked as downloadable on the data source, and it is currently supported to download MP4 files and M3U8. So I can just start. So now I'm going to type rest on the download button. It is preparing the download, and it is also started already to download because MP4 is a single file and it doesn't have parts, so it cannot see the progress, but it is just showing it as a download, as a progress of downloading. Okay, it is completed. I can go on the same time, can go to other file and download it as well. And here it is playlist, so it is updating the status of the downloading, where I can also stop it, like press on it to stop and start it again. If I try to download another file that is live, it will not work. And also, this is some damaged feed that is damaged item that is also not available. The items that already downloaded can be played locally, even if the device is online and the internet connection is present. But if the file already downloaded, it will start playing it locally. Okay, and it will actually be the same way if I remove the. Wait, if I can do it because it is online. Just a second. It will play. Okay. If the item is downloaded and I'm offline, I can go to the offline screen. If you can see here, I can go to the offline screen, and I can also remove it from downloaded items if I want to, and or play it. So here there's some different states that it can be made. Different options. Okay, so the item is deleted, and when I go back to the online and present it, it will not be available as a downloaded, but will give me an option to download it again. That's it.
Thanks, Alex. So,
one small note regarding to design of items. So basically, in terms of each family can design its own assets of the download section. Also, it's or tweak a bit the way the animation works. And if they want an altogether different animation, they can upload their own animation as a sequence of PNG. So you have
yes.
all the options.
You will have on the plugin, you will have some customization fields that will allow this.
yeah, thanks. So we are, just for the state of things, we're now in a QA cycle for the iOS part. And we started implementing it on Android. So hopefully the rollout will be, in the next demo, it will be before rollout. But if you have plans for downloads, this is the state of things we're currently working on. Thank you. Thank you, Alex, Gil, and Yuli. I got a message here that the meeting will end in 10 minutes because we are on a free tier. So what will happen if we will all be hanged out, I will create another meeting and you will need to join to another link because we will not finish in 10 minutes. So be prepared to be thrown out of the meeting in 10 minutes. Francois, let's try to make it 10 minutes as a part A of the task force, and then we will move to part B. Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll try to do it quickly then to hold into 10 minutes. So let me share my screen. All right, there it is. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, in the first task force, we had one goal. As Ran was saying, is that we wanted to create ready for release apps on tvOS and Samsung, with all the current features that we had so far, the things that we've been working on for a few months, plus screen hooks, hero grid, and screen picker components on all platforms. There's just Samsung doesn't have the screen picker, but on tvOS they're all there. We also wanted to improve the stability of the app on Samsung, and we wanted to start prototyping on Android TV. So now, basically, if I show again, this document will be shared in the channel afterwards. But we can see that on tvOS and Samsung now we have a very consistent and very advanced feature coverage regarding all the things that we think are important for like being ready for release. The two discrepancies that we have are the video first experience on tvOS, which we don't have right now, and the screen picker that we don't have on Samsung. But we hope that we're going to be able to close those gaps fairly soon. And of course, we're going to carry on working on bringing other features in the weeks and months to come, like advertising and session storage and all that kind of stuff, right? Also, it's important to note that Anna's made like really good progress on trying to port the platform on Android TV, which also kind of validates the approach that we had for QuickBreak to make sure to build this framework that renders on all platforms. It turns out that it's not without quirks, but it also plays nicely. So you're going to be able to see that. Of course, be aware that what we're releasing right now is for Samsung and tvOS. And currently for Android TV, you still have to use the current SDK that exists. What we tried to do in this cycle for Android TV was to prototype and make sure that the QuickBreak framework could also work in that environment and see how things would play out. And so far, we were pleasantly surprised. So without any further ado, I'm going to show, so this version here that you see there is basically this is the Samsung app, right? This is how it looks. So in Zapp, you can let me reload it so that you can see the loading, right? So in Zapp, you can customize, of course, the colors like you do with all the platforms. You can customize the assets. You have you also have a few localization strings that you can customize for each of your apps in Zapp, right? And then you can create your layout in the UI builder. You can use the navigations. You can see it here. I'm navigating with my keyboard here, but this will also work with the remote you have on the TV, right? Now I'm going to show you the components that we have. So first of all, we have the rails or horizontal list, which behaves like that, right? So it's usually much smoother. My device is running like lots of things in parallel, so don't be bothered with this. So you can see how the rails animate. It's a really nice experience. You can see that it always moves to show a maximum number of potential items to discover on the row, but at the same time, it never leaves the row empty. So that's it's very nice. Second component we have is just a plain normal grid that you can navigate like that. And yeah, this is the grid, the second component. Now I'm gonna switch to another screen to show you the last component that we have, which is the hero component, right? The hero component is basically kind of like a rails in the way that it animates horizontally when you select it, but there are two differences. First, the central component is much bigger, and it loops endlessly, right? So you never really reach the end of it. When you're at the end, it cycles back again to where you are until you revert to the initial position of the component, right? So basically that's it. The really cool thing that we have on Samsung is this feature that we call video first, which basically works like that. If I start to play an item, the video will start to play, right? I would like to say that if you want, you can customize the player controls independently from the player plugin itself. So if you don't really care about the player layer, but you want to customize the way the controls look, you can tweak it separately on these platforms there. So now when you're in there, of course, you can go, you can fast forward, you can resume, you can navigate like that. But you see the more content property here, basically if you hit that, it's going to bring up the rest of the UI on top of the video. This is the main highlight of the video first experience. So once you're here, what you can do is you can navigate your app to browse for more content to watch without losing track and losing focus on your video, right? And you can even, if you want, you can even navigate to other screens and other sections of the app. It will also work exactly in the same way. And we added this component here in the middle to allow you to quickly and easily go back to the video and resume your viewing experience. So we have mapped this to the remote events that we have on Samsung. So like you have back buttons and all that kind of stuff. So we have UX planned for this, but it also works on the keyboard because this is a web-based app. So when we are working on it and when we are debugging it, we can also test it and run it in a browser like we do in this example right now. All right, so this is it mostly for Samsung, right? And now I'm going to show Apple TV, which is similar to this. The only difference with Apple TV is that it has the screen picker, which Samsung doesn't have, but it doesn't have the video first experience. So trying to using the remote here, okay. So you can see we have the same kind of navigation here on tvOS. Same thing, you can customize the colors and the background assets in the same way that you do for the Samsung app or any other app, right? I have a hero component like this, and we see that we've been trying to be really respectful of the platform, right? If I wiggle the remote around, you can see that we still have the parallax effect that you have on tvOS, so that the app really feels and belongs in the platform, even though you can see that it also has some very strong consistency with the Samsung version that we've seen so far. This is a grid with just the 4 items, and this is the horizontal list or the rails, which works exactly like on Samsung. And this is a grid with more items, so you can see how it works when when we are navigating all this way here, right? On tvOS, if I press on the menu button, I go back to the menu so I can navigate to another screen and see what's going on. And then I can, oh no, not last but not least, here I have a screen picker, right? So the screen picker works exactly like we do on our other app, right? Except that instead of having tabs on the top, we have like this horizontal menu here on the side. But the same thing happens here. If I'm selecting another screen, it will reload and basically present that here, right? And the same scenarios apply. You can use connected screens. You can use feeds of feeds. You can, you know, all the strategies that you use today to populate screen pickers, the same scenarios will work on tvOS. And all the components that we have, they're also available to work on the screen picker. We can actually, this screen is actually the home screen that we saw earlier with the same components. The grid is now spanning out one more item because it has less spaces, and everything like that is handled automatically. The rails, you can see everything is handled and works seamlessly. So now the only thing that we don't have here is video first. So if I play an item, I'm gonna have the default tvOS player that you can see here, which is nice because it gives you like all the default options that you have. And if I press menu, if I press menu, I'm going back to the app like this, right? So I think that time's up, and I've shown almost everything. We haven't been kicked out yet, so maybe we'll have a few more minutes. This is it. We're really excited to show you this. You can start using it right now. As Rand said earlier, we still have to do the QA and the rollout phase, but we're very confident that this is solid and that this should be working well. And we're gonna, of course, dedicate a lot of work to try to fix the bugs and the edge cases that we have here and there. I'm sure we're gonna find some, but we're gonna address them.
Francois, the player that you showed on Samsung, the overlay with recommended items, is it available also on tvOS?
No, this is what we call the video first experience. It's not recommended items. It's like the actual UI of the app showing on top of the video player while you are playing the video. But you know, this could be enhanced with. This is something that we want to provide as a plugin. So we want to offer the possibility to opt it out on Samsung and to opt it in on tvOS. But at this stage, it's not the case yet. It's only available on Samsung currently.
Okay, cool. Ran, I stole a question.
No, you have another one till people will join.
Good. Is Alex here?
You can ask. Someone else might be able to answer. You lose your time.
When you have an item when you're downloading an item and you want to click on the second one to download, why it gives you the same error as a broken stream and not putting it in the queue?
Oh, you can download multiple at the same time. He was just showing a broken stream.
No, okay. I think what he showed is the same. Both of them are getting like exclamation mark.
No.
You can download the multiple at the same time.
Okay, I can download 8 episodes and it will download one by one. Okay, we just need to make sure that the UI shows that it's in queue. Check Netflix. They have a their UI.
Actually, download everything together.
It will download them in parallel.
Ah, okay. Was it the demo you showed? It showed an error like the broken stream.
It showed an error on the live stream, right? It was a live stream that you cannot download. And as an example, you can only download the VOD item, which is or MP4 file or an M3UA.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, let's continue. I think we can continue. Francois, you have some more words or we move to Anna?
No, this is it mostly. So just to say that we still need to finish QA and do the rollout. And we're really looking forward for everyone to start using this. And please just ask if you wanna give it a try. If you see a client that can use this, just we'll do whatever we can, try to support you to make sure that we can ship apps with this as soon as possible.
Yeah, one important thing before we move to Anna. So Shimon was working on the less sexy part, which is to be able to allow to package the app and to be installable on a device. So I would say two things about that. When you build the app in Zapp, basically there are two artifacts that are related. But one artifact is that this is a web-based app, so it's deployed somewhere, which means that if you are doing demos or you want to play with it and you don't have a Samsung TV, you can do it inside the browser. The second artifact, which is the more complicated one, is to package it all to be able to install it on the TV itself. So Shimon did a work about that, and we are like wrapping it up. And once we will roll out, you will be able to do the full cycle of creating the app, deploying it to the web, and also install it on the device.
Yeah, I mean, in order to install it to the device, we have to install some command line thingies, which are not very nice, but I mean, it's like Android and iOS and everything else. And the QA team, yes, the QA team is already proficient with that, so we're good to go.
Great, cool. Anna, want to present?
Yeah, so Ran, quick question. I will go one by one. So I will start with the TV and then go to single bundle, right?
Yeah, so let's start with the TV.
Brilliant. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. While she's sharing, I would say again, the objective was to try to use the same code base that we're using on the other platforms on Android TV. We have an Android TV currently. When I'm saying Android, I'm talking about Amazon Fire and Android TV, both. It's the same code base. And we have currently one, but it's not using QuickBrick, which means that we cannot leverage commonalities and a lot of things like parity and a lot of things that we can write once. So here, what Anna will present, basically, it's the same code base as Francois showed on Samsung and Apple TV.
Yeah, I was mostly following the Samsung implementation. So basically, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we did in that cycle is actually make the whole environment work for the Android TV on a QuickBrick. And we got the base navigation and the Rails, which you can see we don't have a fancy animations yet, but eventually we will get there. It's a quick demo. It's nothing really impressive. And this is a very early stage of the Android. So that's it about the TV.
So basically what I would just say, we are trying to push this to level with the other platforms. It might seem very small, but it's a significant work that was done to be able to run it. I will say that the TV platforms are not really ready in terms of technology for React Native. So in order for us to push it, it takes a lot of effort from the team to make it work, but we're at the point that we feel confident that we leverage a lot more now using the React Native and QuickBrick. And basically what Francois showed there in the table that was presented is the QuickBrick implementation of the things. And the nice part is that if we add a feature, normally either that it will work automatically to all the platforms, or it will require, if it's a more of like UI-related, focus-related issues, navigation-related issue might require some work on each one of the platforms. But for example, the implementation of screen hooks that we did actually in the previous cycle, we leverage it on all the platforms out of the box with one implementation. So this should help us a lot with scale and velocity. And parity, of course, of the platforms in terms of features.
Okay. I will share the presentation now.
Yeah, what Anna will present now is a completely different task that she did, not related to TV, to solve other problems we have currently on our current mobile apps.
Yeah, so that was the previous cycle which I was working on, single bundle React Native. So we got the reasoning, and the reasoning why we did that, most of this was crashes. And due to nature of the React Native SDK, multiple React Native instances and multiple bundle customes of hard to predict crashes. Also app weight, if you can imagine that one bundle can take approximately 1 megabyte, and if you have 20 React Native components inside, it easy escalate to 20 megabytes. Also, when you downloading this data at the app start, you are downloading every time the 20 megabytes, so it's not ideal. And what we did with that, we define a one bundle to rule them all. So the single bundle, one React Native instance, and multiple models inside of the bundle. Thanks to Francois aggregator, we were able to set up the React Native plugins bundles as a module of the single bundle. And we wrote some automation scripts. So basically it's happening at the build time in a Zapp. And also there is an extra bonus which coming with that, is that we were able to provide configuration of the React and the React Native, so your app can be up to date with the newest feature coming from the Facebook SDK. So how to use it, not as the guy over here.
This is the photo that Google found you, Anna?
Yeah. You simply adding the plug, sorry?
Because it's a known meme in Israel. It's an Israeli minister that did this.
Was the former minister.
Whoa.
Good one.
Yeah. I didn't know that one. But anyways, how to use it. You simply adding the single bundle plugin. You go to the plugin configuration and you set up your version of the React Native and the React, which is supported by your plugins. This is important. You need to make sure that all your plugins are migrated and published to NPM, like the Francois guide while ago. And then you just build the app and everything is happening behind the hood. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a very important step. First, the implementation is Android only currently, because we suffer there the most, but it's a very important, as much as we go towards the React Native world, it was needed in order to resolve some, the way we manage React Native inside our apps. So basically this allows us to package all the React Native plugins into one place. And like Anna said, basically now you can be free according to the apps plugin to decide which React Native version you're using. You're not like forced to use older version. You can manage it yourself. So thanks for that. And hopefully we will be able to release Run Sport with this fix. Cool. Thank you for that. Alex D is here. You want to show something?
Sure, I'm here.
Yeah.
So basically, for past few cycles, I was working on bug fixes, but I had few small development tasks too. I think it's easier to go through them. I mean, I'll announce them, and if you guys interested, we can go deeper. So first of all, it's support for the banners and interstitials in the plugin screens. basically, it works as any other screen now, just easily configured in UI Builder. Next, there would be...
Yeah, I want to focus on that because I think that this is it's a huge feature. Basically, what we give is an out-of-the-box solution for plugin screens to leverage display ads, banner and interstitial. So if you are developing a custom plugin screen, you are able to get out of the box advertisement. So a banner on the bottom and interstitial, only with configuration in the UI Builder. We implemented it a while ago on iOS, and we're gonna roll it out. But basically, it says that if you want, you don't need to worry about the advertisement inside your plugins if it's like a basic advertisement of a fixed banner and interstitial.
Thank you, Ran. Next would be the rounded icons. It's a feature that Android started with version 8. So we would ask to provide a separate sets of drawables to build the rounded icon. And for the versions under 8, we're going to use the same standard icon. No changes there.
We're talking about the launchers, so the app icon itself on the device. So this was a feature request from Europe, from Alisa, if I recall.
Yep.
So we now support it from the next SDK.
Next features are still in making. Local storage. It's getting paired with the session storage that was developed by Javier. Basically, the idea behind the local storage was to consolidate our usage of shared preferences on Android. So it's more concise and more clear how to use for developers. Because before that, it was like free for all. People would could have override each other's settings, and we would like not to allow that. Local storage is still not being completely tested. And I guess as soon as it will be delivered, I'll notify you guys. The same thing with the new toolbar. We implementing the new default toolbar for the Android. Visually, basically, will look almost the same with a bunch of fixes. And the idea behind it was to sync the solutions and the implementations that iOS and Android has. Because as of now, it's has a quite a number of bugs, and basically the solutions are not aligned.
This part is important. Basically, what we're working on is we're building a new navigation bar that should address all the problems and inconsistency that Zapp CMS users has with configuration of this navigation bar. So it's still in QA, and afterwards we will roll it out. Basically, we will introduce a new navigation bar that should solve all this problem and not create regression on the previous one. Alex, unless there is something really important, I want to see if Boaz has something to say.
The rest the bugs, nothing, just minor items, but so I would let Boaz continue. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Boaz, you're muted, I think.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. And see my screen? No, not
yet. Yeah, we see it.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna present what I was doing during the past cycle, and so divided into two sections. The first one we talk about the manual stuff, which is kind of the continue to what the development just showed, and the next one we're dealing with the automation. So first about the manual, we prepared 3 new test plans for the development stuff, the test plan for the advertising inside screen plugins, for the new navigation bar, and for the offline mode. Besides that, we had a release of 2 SDKs, iOS and Android, and one comment about the numbers that I'm showing here. We had three new issues that found and 9 that were fixed, and the meaning of it is that in addition to the three one that were regression in SDK 11, we looked back in our board and took from there 6 old issues and fixed them during this SDK. And just want to show that that we are looking back and taking issues from the past and fixing that. So those were the 2 SDKs. Besides that, we had our own manual preparations for the Samsung TV and Apple TV. Oops. For the Samsung TV and Apple TV, and it means it's creating projects in test trails and start writing the test plan for the supported features, and update our scripts and many small things that required a lot of work. And besides that, we also managed to start and have our first QA cycle with Applause and our internal cycle about of the Apple TV. We are currently testing the SDK 10.02. That was about the manual stuff. Besides, now let's move on to the automation. First thing we did, we added the automation test for the sync button. The test verifies that the sync button display. It verifies the functionality when you tap it, that it verifies that you reach the target you want to get to. And of course, the dismiss functionality of the sync button. Besides that, we started having a daily run of the automation test that using the previous SDKs that being created every day. And for now on, for those of you who are following the channel in Slack, Zapp product updates, you will be able to see summary results of those runs, okay? And for each of the platforms, one for iOS and the other one for Android. And in general, any added new automatic test will be added to here and will run here on a daily basis using the previous SDK. We can assure by that the stability of the previous SDKs. Last thing, and another 2 things, and this is the main thing that I was dealing with. It's actually, we created the automation analytics plugins. The motivation of this plugin is actually to have a solution for automation testing for analytics events. We are doing in the past SDK cycles a great effort to solve and fix issues we have in analytics. So what we did here is we created the plugins that doing the same work like a real plugin that reporting the events to some provider. In these plugins, we are reporting the events to the UI test. And by that, we are able in the UI test to verify together with the verification of the UI elements on screen. We also verifies that the analytics events fire correctly. And actually from now on, test will be finished not only by verifying UI, also being verified of the analytics events. Those new plugins also enable us another manual testing that we can fire the analytics events also to some HTTP local server and see the events there. We picked the advertising test and added these verifications there. One last thing is the upgrade to Python 3.7.3 from Python 27 that's going to be deprecated soon. I think this is it, maybe.
Yes. Mainly, I want to say that first the QA team, I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but Dor and Reut joined the team, and this team is doing great effort to in successful effort to be able to digest all the platforms that we support. So we're trying to make sure that our SDKs are stable. We see improvements in our KPIs. Boaz presented we don't, in any release, in new releases that we have, the amount of regressions and bugs that we have is something that we're tracking. And there is a big improvements since we added the automation and the proper process of
we're saying today that our coverage is 30%. 30% is automatic and 70% is manual, still manual.
Yeah, this is something that we're trying to flip to the other direction, but basically now, at least when you're taking a preview SDK, you can look at the results and see what are a little bit more accurate, what are the results you're taking.
That's a question. What's inside of this packet, in these zip files?
The test results.
Like a logs?
Not if some test fails, you can see inside.
I invite you to download it. It's there in the Slack.
You can see what test we are running, and there are only few now, but hopefully this is something we will extend.
The reason I'm asking is I know that some UI tests which you're running on Azure, you are able to record the video.
In Azure, I'm not using the video, but I'm using snapshots.
Okay.
Cool. So it was a tough cycle for us as a team. We're ambitious, I would say, but I want to say thank you to everybody in the team for the hard work. It's impressive when you look at it. And this is basically a month of work. One thing that I want to say is that, again, administration stuff. What you see here is something that we're going to roll out after the QA will be done. We're going to try to do another session about things that were already rolled out that can be used by sales and marketing and whoever wanna use it. Any question? We are ahead of our time, but if there is some urgent question someone would like to ask, any of the things we presented. Cool. It will be very helpful if you guys will start, if the early adopters will start to take the things and push them. We're really into helping make all the things we presented in production as soon as we can. So really, if you have some time to, if you have a prospect that might leverage from these new things that we did, it would be great if you will start playing with it and taking it. And we are here to help solve problems if appearing along the way.
I will talk with anyone of the team, with the product person, so I will highlight the known issues so you don't get stuck with known issues. Currently verbally, and then we'll put everything in the communication.
Great. Two last things. First, we have a new product in the team, a new product person in the team, which is David. He's located in London, so welcome. And the second thing is I invite everybody to look at the Trello board that is called the Zapp cycle feature rollout. So this is a good place for you to be updated about.
I need to update it.
Yeah, but still, this is the place to get updated. I showed it today. It's the things are correct. The state of things as of now are correct. So you can go here. I did some changes before the demo, Gavri. So you're welcome to look into it, to use the wishlist side and to ask questions also inside it. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice weekend in Israel and nice rest of the week. There are other places around the world.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Amazing work, guys. Thank you.
Bye.